Hey guys, we had the opportunity to speak to a group of moms about becoming a family team and how family rhythms work and how you even just get started on it. So here's our talk. We hope you enjoy.
Good to hang out with you guys, ladies. Dan and I have been working pretty hard on this for you guys, trying to figure out what do we have that we could possibly share that would be maybe helpful. And as a family of 8, we have 6 little kids, which we'll introduce you to in a second. We've been forced to figure out some stuff about when things get crazy, and so we're gonna maybe share some of that with you guys here. But first of all, I'll tell you a little bit about our story. I was a youth pastor for 12 years, and while I was in graduate school down at seminary, I met this lady, and there's a thing called YouTube that happened at the time, also was down there, and so I put a video up on March 2nd, 2006, over 10 years ago, and it was just, me sitting there and just trying to figure out is this possible to put videos on YouTube or not, and what was the process. I had one of those 8mm cameras that use plastic tape that would eat your tape all the time, and then you'd lose all your footage, and then you would swear at it and throw it away. No, but it was just a little test. And then through that, Dana and I wanted a way of introducing her, my girlfriend, to my family back home. And so we just started making little videos when we would go out to eat, go out to restaurants. Kind of I can't really see it, but that's us walking out of a restaurant. That's 2006, a few days later. And then we just kind of kept going. Everything from our engagement, I think, our engagement, to our wedding, to our honeymoon, to our first house, first real job, and everything. And we just kind of kept going. And one of the things that we realized was that the people who are watching these videos, the stories we were hearing from people, that the ways their lives were being changed and impacted just through us hanging out on YouTube was actually just as fruitful as what we were seeing happen in the youth ministry that we were part of. Except for what the difference was, at the time we were reaching about 1 million people a month on YouTube, and so we decided kind of through a long process of events that where is God working and where should we join Him, and so we decided to go off on YouTube full time, and so since then we now have 6 little kids. The oldest is 7. We had 4 kids, ages 2 and under, when the twins were born. We had 6 kids in 6 years, and it's been an amazing journey. We've been living full time on YouTube now for the past 4 years.
Not planned.
Yeah, not
that
planned.
That was not our plan.
Yeah, we planned the first 1, 2, the third one.
3, 4.
Kind of. It was if it happens type of thing. It happens. And so we just rolled with it. So they're all blessings. We're very thankful for them now. But it was not expected and not planned. And I don't know if I would advise it to anyone else, but here we are. And they're awesome. Turns out it's good for YouTube views too. People think you're crazy, which we might be actually. So it's a little bit of background about us. You want to
start now?
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to be talking about our YouTube theme that we always tell people is that our channel is all about becoming a family team. And you don't have to have 6 kids to be a family team. But there's a lot of things that fight against us trying to work together. Tim does homeschooling for our family, making sure we're planted in here, meeting with the church. Cleaning a house makes you really busy. Trying to discipline and disciple our kids. Trying to cook food for everybody and make sure everybody's fed and clean and the house is clean. Like, there's so many things that can distract us and try to take us away from what our goal is for our family. And you don't have to have 6 kids to be distracted and busy and things taking that away. You can have 1 kid. You can be pregnant with your first kid, and or even trying to get pregnant. And life is just crazy. There's so many things that are fighting for our attention. Babies are not going to distract us. Just put that out there. I know the nursery was full today, so you're totally fine. We're used to it.
Yeah, it's quiet in here right now. Yeah, our life gets really crazy, and trying to manage 6 little kids and trying to have time together and trying to have build our relationship and relationship with each of our kids while also growing a family business and everything. Things just get crazy, and people we have this question how do we just balance everything? There's too much, we can't keep it all in balance. And a friend of mine actually pointed out to me, he's like, Tim, you don't have a balance problem. He said that you actually need to turn off the projector, is what it said, I guess. Hold on. How do I hit? Will it go again? You'll go back and hit
What
play.
do I hit?
Play on it.
Play?
Yeah,
That was
the top one is you got it, yeah.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Just hit the play button at the top, I guess. This isn't my remote, so apparently I hit the wrong button.
Okay.
There you go. All right. So he told me you actually have a family rhythm problem, and I was like, well, what does that mean? And he's like, so you know what a rhythm is, Tim? And I was like, I think so. I used to teach piano lessons. I took 12 years of it, so I kind of have a little bit of idea of what rhythm is. And he said a rhythm is something that repeats. It's a pattern. It's predictable, and it lets a group of people clap in unison. It lets a couple dance in unison. Lets them know when they're supposed to take the next step. When someone's supposed to be in sync with the other people. It's not haphazard, and so we talked a little bit about what does it mean to have a family rhythm. And so since then, that was a few years ago, it's been really helpful for us in trying to figure out. It's actually not trying to balance everything. It's more about giving priorities to the things that you say matter most and saying no to a lot of other things. But so we want to share with you guys maybe 3 things that have been helpful for us, 3 practical things that have been helpful for establishing a family rhythm and trying to kind of find balance in everything that's going on and take out of control craziness and just reduce it a little bit to just craziness, which is a big step for us.
One of the first things to be able to get a handle on a family rhythm for us was to get a family vision. And that was a new term for us too. With Tim being a youth pastor, we always knew he had a vision for the youth ministry and where the youth ministry was going to head and what we were going to do with that. But having it for our actual family was a new idea to us. And one of the things that helped with forming that, back up a little bit, it helps me day to day to have a vision, to know why am I changing all these diapers? Why am I feeding these kids again? All just the mundane, day after day thing, cleaning up another mess, cleaning up another mess, cleaning up another mess. They don't stop. But having something in the back of your mind to know, I have a purpose for doing this helps so much to be able to get through those rough days when things just seem to be falling apart because your 2-year-old is into everything and won't stop. But one of the things to get rolling on the vision is to define what your big rocks are. What are the most important things in your... I'm waiting for your next.
There we go.
There we go. What are the very most important things that you want to focus on? Is it discipling your kids? Is it making sure that you're spending time together as a family? Whatever is most important, are you doing those things? And what things are showing that you're doing those things? And what things are taking away from it? We're big on budgeting, and I might be jumping ahead here. But you have to budget your time, just as you have to budget your finances. And sometimes you don't know exactly where your time is going. But sitting down and actually looking at your calendar and seeing where are you, what are we doing, and is that reflecting what we really do value and what our vision for our family is. I love this picture. In both of those jars, it has the same amount of rocks and sand. It's the same exact thing in there. But if you try to fit, if you let all the busy stuff go on the left, if you do all the busy stuff and you let everything just life happen to you, you're not going to fit everything into your jar. But on the right, if you put your big rocks down first, you have your foundation. Everything else will be able to fit in together with it, and it meshes a whole lot better.
Yeah, so we decided, not starting with the tasks, but starting with the beliefs. Like, what are the things we say we believe are most important to us, rather than just like, here's a list of everything we need to do today, which one's the most important? But instead starting with, what do we say is, like, helps our family's mission go further? What do we say, this is what our family's about, this is what our mission is, this is what our vision is for our family, this is what we want our kids to look like in 10 years, this is what our relationships will look like. What things actually will get us closer to that, and which things are just maybe opportunities, or distractions disguised as opportunities. And so so some of the beliefs that we have that we decided we're going to be first, and there's a lot, but just for example, spending time together as a whole family is important to us, all 8 of us together. One of the goals with that is to really capture our kids' hearts. There's a lot of things competing for our kids' attention right now, on television, video games, other friends. There's a lot of things, and we want them to grow up being like, my heart is at home, like with my parents. Eventually that'll change, but now that they're kids, we want to be the ones that capture their hearts. Discipling our kids. Dan and I both, like, that's a big thing. We'll show you practically how this looks for us, but just like this is the things that we started with, as like these beliefs. Another thing is like alone time for Dana and I. Like that's something we believe is important for our marriage and our relationship. Like our relationship with the rest of the family, like kind of depends on our like relationship with each other. So it's actually good for our kids that we say bye to them once a week, and so we make that a financial priority too for our budget. Providing for our family through our family business is another high priority. So like things that we say that we believe, these are the values that we hold, rather than starting with the tasks and the calendar, but saying this is what we believe is important, and then going with that.
And I'm really good at getting us off task on all of that. Because for me,
these buttons are right next to each other.
For me, I see a messy house, and that becomes my first priority, because seeing the visual clutter just drives me crazy. And so I want to have the house clean first before all the relationships are in right order. And I want to make sure my kids are clean, and making sure our house looks nice on the outside, having the lawn mowed, or having errands that we need to go run, doing grocery shopping and stuff. Like for me, I get task oriented, which is really good that you have a spouse that you can balance each other, because Tim's able to be like, okay, but what really matters in this, and bring me back around with that.
So yeah, there's a lot of things distracting, like getting you off task, saying things that you would say that you believe, but then like your calendar actually reflects something different. So one of the passages that was really helpful for us is this one, Deuteronomy 6. It says, and the context of this is actually within a lot of the what we would call Jewish holidays, but they're actually God, because God said they were His. So they're like, God's saying, these are my holidays, and I want you to observe them, the Jewish people. And so the context is like, I've established all these festivals that I want you to observe. And then in the context of that, it says this: the goal of these festivals is, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. And these words that I command to you today shall be on your heart. You shall teach them diligently to your children, and shall talk of them when you sit at your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise. You shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. You shall write them out on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. And so like we usually like jumping to that, but kind of miss the context of all these festivals. And so practically some of the ways we say this is what we believe, this is what's important to our family, we start there, and then what it actually looks like is we actually started observing some of these festivals. Just like, all right, if we just took God at His word and said like, here's your discipleship plan for your kids, here's how you pass faith to the next generation, like that passage says, and then He gives us like tools to do that, like Passover. That's exactly the whole point of Passover. He's like, so when you do this, your kids are going to ask you, why are we killing this lamb? And then you will say to them, it's like the actual curriculum for when your kids ask this, you say that, And so Passover, we started like living into that. Shabbat, also, which is like Sabbath. Every Friday night we have a family meal together, and sometimes about half the time we do with another family too. We invite over because those relationships are important to us also. But doing like a big family meal, that's all nothing like that. But like Sukkot is another one. Festival of Booths. We do this just in our backyard. We go camping in the backyard for a week, and we point at our house with our kids and say, that is not our home. We look forward to an eternal home whose foundations are built by God, which is right out of Hebrews 13. And so those things, date night has been important for us, as we talked about. Like, that's another practical implication of what we believe. Family projects, so family projects together. This is an opportunity for us to learn with our kids and to grow alongside of our kids, and our kids to see Daddy make mistakes, a lot. We're building like this new table and benches for our kitchen together, for our family. We homeschool. This is a choice that we've made. I'm not saying this is right for everyone, but for me, I just felt like when we sending our kids off to school, I was handing over a big part of our family rhythm to like someone else to control. And like, so now we like have to be there a certain time, get them back at a certain time, and they have other events, and it's kind of like I lost control of half of our family rhythm. So by homeschooling, I feel like we have more control over that. Business stuff, bedtime routines, like that's important. We get the kids to bed hopefully by like 7-ish, but it usually ends up like 8:30-ish, you know how that goes. So even to get out the door, they plan a half hour early when we really want to. But having the kids early, so Dan and I can have in bed early so we can have time to relax, spend time together, that's an important part of it.
When they're in bed by 7, they're not asleep by then. We
Right.
give them some time to read and chat a little bit, and then we have a lights out time, and then they finally fall asleep. So.
But then there's like I go to a men's group and Midrash with other dads once a week. You come here and on Thursdays, and so that's important as part of our spiritual development. I don't remember what that last point was for, but meals and grocery shopping.
Okay.
That's important. I forget what the point of that was. But to do a lot of these things, though, we also had to say no to a lot of things as well. So, for example, like one thing that just doesn't fit into all this for us is like sports for our kids. I know, like, you can yell at us, but like if we do sports, it's together as a family, like something like tennis, we can all go do together, or which we haven't done yet. They're not big enough yet, but like that's our plans.
Bike riding.
Yeah, bike riding, that works together. Things like that. We said we had to start saying no to the YMCA, to the events and things that we were part of there. We were part of a great faith community in a church up in Fairfield, Ohio, that we really loved and appreciated, but it was like a 40-minute drive each way every week, and we weren't really like involved there, so it was a few years ago we had to say no to that, because that didn't line up with what we said we believe about relationships and things, so that's then when we started getting plugged in here. We limit our nights out to 3 nights a week, absolutely no more than 3 nights. Our family gets, like everything gets run down and gets too crazy, anything more than 3 nights a week. So that's Monday night, Dana gets a time out to herself, and then Tuesday nights we're here again tonight for Financial Peace University, and then Saturdays we're here for service. So like, that's that. No more than an hour of screen time for the kids, because that's something that competes for their hearts and their attention, and that takes them away from like interacting with each other, and so we limit screen time. They have to earn it through their chores, but then there's like a cap. We're like, no more screen time. You're getting too cranky, and we want you to spend time with each other. Things like that.
So we figured out what was important for us and everything, and then tried to figure out like, how do you do everything? And it came back to like, you can't balance everything. There's no way you can give everything its own time. So we're trying to figure out, how can you integrate? How can you bring your family together and do more than one thing at a time? And a lot of ways how that has looked for us is the kids have their chores. And that's also combined with one-on-one time with mom. So when a kid is having to clean up the table, I'm right there beside them cleaning up the table with them, and it's a really good conversation time that you just have. There's no other distractions because they have a task to do, and they get that time with mom and serving together, and that's been a really special time. And then after that kid's done clearing, then I get time with the next kid who's scrubbing the dishes, and then after that, then I get time one-on-one with the kid that's loading the dishwasher. And so that's been a really fun way to be able to get time with each of the kids, well, half of the kids, at the end of the day, to do that. But other ways that we've integrated is Tim goes on business trips, and when it's appropriate, he'll take a kid with him on one of his trips to do that. I had an opportunity to go help a sister-in-law after she had a baby while she was recovering, and I took Hannah and Hallie with me, and they were great helps with doing that. They had fun with their cousins too, but they also had a little bit of a responsibility to make them feel like they had a place on our trip with us. And then when Tim goes to his men's groups, when they're not super early in the morning, usually a kid would go with him to the men's Bible studies, and then whenever I have like a Norwex party that I've gone to in the evenings, I'll take one of our daughters with me to go to that stuff. So kind of just bringing them along. It depends on their age and if it's appropriate for them to be there. But a lot of it's just nice for them to come along and see how mom and dad function with other adults, and the kids love it too because they love talking to adults, and it just makes them feel so grown up, and it's just a fun opportunity to see them just work on their conversation skills with other people too. One thing, when we were going through this, I was thinking of one thing that I really appreciate that God kind of really just automatically puts in for us is that we can get so busy and we can get so concentrated on trying to multitask and do everything all at once. But one thing that I learned to really appreciate was with having a newborn and having to take the time to feed your child, like just sitting and just having to relax and having to take that time to just be still. And then I started getting convicted of like, don't play on my phone on Facebook the whole entire time that I'm feeding my baby. And that didn't happen every time, but it's just to realize like God actually like set some stuff in place for us to do things naturally, and just to notice that, to be open to see that and appreciate what He's already put in place. 2 Corinthians 12:9 says, "My grace is enough for you, for my power is brought to perfection in weakness." This is a great verse that I have to remind myself of. I am not a physical touch person, especially with so many little kids, and they all need physical touch, especially with having a newborn. Like, you're constantly being touched, and for me, that's really draining. But that's something that God has really been like, you know what, like, it's not in your own strength. Like, your kids need to be loved, they need to feel loved, and it's a place that I have to pour myself out into and be okay with that. So this verse comes in handy a lot with that. And I'm not nursing any babies anymore, but I will find myself a few times during the day where I just have to sit on the floor and let my twins crawl all over me, let my 2-year-old come and wrestle on me, because they just need that attention. And I have to just stop and be like, all right, the dishes are gonna have to wait for a little bit, or folding laundry is gonna have to wait, and I just have to be with my kids, because that is the most important thing over all the chores and stuff that need to get done.
One of the things I think is cool about the very beginning of the story in Genesis 1 and 2 is God created Adam, and then He created him, though, to work alongside of his father, like alongside of his heavenly Father. And so rather than having like separate time for the kids, separate time for chores, it was like, something really powerful about when a child works alongside of their parents. And one of the things we had to get over, though, is that the goal was no longer to finish the chore or get the job done. The goal was actually to disciple our kids and to train them in whatever that was that we were doing. And so it's often not done as well, and it took twice as long. But in the long run, it's paid off in some ways we'll talk about. But we just had to shift our mindset. Like, the goal is not to get the dishes clean in 20 minutes.
Tim was really good at that mind shift. I was not. Because I
have lower standards, I guess.
You do?
Because
I would like the dishwasher loaded the way that I would do it and make sure all the dishes are scrubbed completely. And so for the training part of our kids do chores, they didn't know how to do them in the beginning. And I had to leave the room, and Tim worked with them in training them how he would do it. And I just had to not look at the dishwasher afterwards and just turn it on and run it.
They came out clean.
They are
in my
clean.
opinion.
It's not bad. And Hannah now, even our 7-year-old, has her particular way that she loads the dishwasher.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if that's good or not. One thing that we believe is that every single person that's in your family is placed there on purpose. That God gave everyone their own personalities that mesh well and maybe sometimes don't mesh well, but everybody is there on purpose. And all of us have our own unique gifts. And it's been really fun to watch our kids and try to see what their gift is. How can they contribute to our family? How can they contribute to other families? And one of the big things that has helped to notice those is looking at what their love language is. Our daughter Hannah loves to color pictures, always constantly coloring pictures, giving them to people. And so for me, that's a spiritual gift, and just giving to others. And our son is really good at speaking words of affirmation and just loving on people like that. And it's been really cool to see how those abilities help. Our 2-year-old even, Toby, he'll see somebody crying and he'll run upstairs and get their favorite blanket or stuffed animal and bring it downstairs to them to comfort them. And it's been really cool to just see those things and try to foster that and encourage what they are already showing that God's given them.
Yeah, we believe that our family is literally placed together by God. Each child, and Dana and I, with our own unique gifts and talents and abilities and things. And so often we think of this passage, as a church community, which it is part of that, but your family is also an expression of the body of Christ. It's just maybe not as big as this room, but it's still there. So 1 Corinthians 12, and it's really long. I broke it up to kind of make it for time, but for the body does not consist of one member, but of many. The parts of the body that seem to be weaker are indispensable. Sometimes that feels like your 2-year-old, but they really are indispensable if you start valuing them this way. God has so composed the body that there may be no division in the body, but that the members may have the same care for one another. If one member suffers, all suffer together. If one member is honored, all rejoice together. And that's kind of part of what we want, what we believe about family. This is our family is a representation of the body of Christ. And so if your son has a spirit of humor, maybe, what does that mean for your family? Maybe your daughter just really excels at building things in Minecraft, maybe that's a skill that you as a parent maybe come alongside of, maybe play Minecraft with them, or maybe you you just kind of tuck that away, okay, that's something I see I need to help bring out of my daughter as a part of our team. So maybe your family's building a garden, this is an example, maybe your daughter comes out and you're like, hey, we're going to build this garden. You're really good at building stuff, and let them use their gifts to help build the family. Maybe your husband's really great at planning events, so maybe he can plan family adventure days for you guys or something. Something we used to do until we had twins and that got put on hold. Maybe one of you's really good at budgeting. Whatever. What are the parts, the talents that the Lord's put in your family together? And we've kind of shifted our belief from thinking of our family as a group of isolated individuals who all kind of cohabit the same space together. And then sometimes families even turn each of the children's bedrooms to mini apartments with their own TV and their own computer and their own so the child could go in that room and be completely isolated and basically live separate from the family. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. There's plenty of families that can do that and still have this mentality, but just for the sake of the example, we just sometimes believe we're all individuals, and we're trying to believe of ourselves as we're placed together by God. And so Dana and I are the coaches of this family team. What's the goal? What's a win for the family, and how do we coach our family to get there together, and how do we link arms and strive towards that? So a few examples of this for us is. Our older son learned how to go to the potty, and now he gets to help train his younger son to go to the potty. And
Younger brother.
Younger brother, should I say son? Yeah, that'd be good. His younger brother to go to the potty. Our daughter is now also teaching him. She learned how to unload the dishwasher from her older siblings, and now she's passing that on to her younger brother. And so it's like all of us working together as a team. And even though she can't do some things, like Hallie is a really valuable asset to our family. And just trying to shift that's part of it too, we didn't put in here, but it's like, how do we, what if we believed our kids are actually assets and not just like liabilities? Like what would that look like if we actually believed that? Like rather than just being a drain on the system, what if like the bigger our family got, the better it could work? And we haven't figured that part out completely, but we're trying to think that way.
I have noticed though, with the kids helping after meals and stuff, so after breakfast, after lunch, and after dinner, they all have their chore of what they do to help clean up the kitchen. And there was one day where they were not feeling well, so I did it all myself. By the end of the day, I was like, they're such a big help. They actually make a huge difference when they're pitching in and they're doing things. Like, I can notice that.
Yeah, it's like the body working together, each person playing their role. Which might sound crazy with 2-year-olds, but it can happen. It's not perfect all the time.
It can be helpful.
And sometimes it causes more work than it would if you just did it yourself, but then you miss the opportunity to continue to train and grow that child. So I just don't underestimate what your kids can actually do. I think our society really kind of tells kids that your job is just to have fun and play all the time, but yeah, you got to go to school because that's part of the deal. I'm sorry, but when you get home, I feel like I kind of hold them to a low and passive standard as opposed to what they actually have the potential to actually do if they were just brought up to believe that that's what they can do and that's normal and that's expected, and they step up to it pretty much every time. And you still give them their time to be kids, of course, and then you go be kids with them, and we all like doing that too. Just trying to believe that our kids are actually valuable to our family and not just a drain on the system. So.
All right, so here's some things for you to take away that would be great for you to discuss with your husband when you get home. What are the values we believe are most important for our family? This is really important for you both to come together and not just you be the one to be like, all right, this is what our family's doing, but this is something to work as a team and come up with together. Number 2, what things in our schedule support those values and what things don't. Number 3, plan out a monthly family rhythm. This is going to change. It's going to waver depending on what season you're in, depending on how old your kids are. Things just change from summer to school year.
We thought we could do it once and then be done for 5 years or something.
Yeah, we thought that with the budget too, with finances.
Didn't work. We had to revisit this once a month, once every 2 months or so. So if you get into month 2 and it's not working anymore, that's normal.
It's okay to change it. And then number 4, how can we integrate our lives together better as a family team? This one's been huge for us to just see where can we do spend time with our kid and get a task done at the same time.
So those are the questions.
These are discussion questions. I don't know if they got passed around or not. It looks like they may have. So for your different tables, we're done.
Thank you guys.
You guys don't mind? Can we have questions?
Sure.
Yeah, I kind of sprang that.
We actually stayed on time.
Yeah.
You guys did. Thank you so much. Does anybody have questions for them before they?
This is going to be up on your YouTube channel, so my husband can watch it.
Is it going to be up on our channel?
Is it going to be on our YouTube channel? Yeah, so we actually have been, there's a camera in the back that we've been talking with our YouTube audience about this kind of stuff, and they're like, yes, record it, we want to see it. So, hi guys.
So as you began celebrating the different festivals and holidays, how long, what kind of timing process did you have, as you were implementing them? So you guys just did Passover for the first time last year or the year before, and then how long? Yeah,
Repeat the question first.
You don't just start them all at once, right? 'Cause that's a little
Right. Yeah. She's asking how long, what's been the process of starting to celebrate the different festivals and stuff. We started with Shabbat first, because that was just a more regular thing that we could celebrate. And that actually started with going and spending Shabbat with other families that were practicing it, so we could get an idea of what it looks like. And we spent it with several different families because it looks different for every single family. And then we moved on to Sukkot because that was a big one that we knew other people that were celebrating that, and so we watched that for a couple of years, 3 years, I don't know, going over and being invited into other people's Sukkot celebrations. And then started, has it been 2 or 3 years that
Passed
we've
over
done
to
that?
someone else first, a few other times, and then last 2 years ago was the first time we did it as a family by ourselves, and then this past year we did it again.
Yeah.
But even Shabbat though, like we just started with that, like the bigger story, but the short version is like I'm self-employed, and so when I was employed, I hope no one takes this the wrong way, especially anyone who's listening, but like I just felt like I was a slave. Like someone told me when I had to leave my family every day, when I get to go back to them, how much time I could spend on vacation with them. They put a cap on my income. Like I didn't like it personally. I know it's great for a lot of people, but for me, I didn't sit well. And so I was like, when I started launching on my own, I was like, all right, I'm a free man now. And I realized I really wasn't. I just exchanged one master for another, and that was like the master of work itself. I became like, there's money. If I don't work, money doesn't come in. It's like it's all on me. So there's like a lot more pressure, which I liked, but which might sound weird to people, but I actually like that pressure. But But I learned I was getting more addicted to work itself, and I was a slave to that. And so then I was like, oh, God, this is this thing called Sabbath, where I say no to work for 24 hours. And so Shabbat for us, just getting started, was can I go 24 hours without checking my email? That's how we got started for me, and that was hard for me to like mentally just like take a break from all the work stuff and just go 24 hours once a week to show that I am not a slave to work, and giving God was part of the Ten Commandments too. So that was a big deal. So we just started real simple and then just kind of went from there.
And when we started into it, like we took one thing at a time, and you have to go slow, because if you try to do it all at the same time, like you're not going to end up doing any of it, because it's just overwhelming. You don't understand what you're doing, and we still don't fully understand what we're doing, but we're just learning it as we go.
You mentioned that you get like one night a week where you go out. How do you utilize that time? Is that your time for like errands or grocery shopping, or is that more like relaxation?
I've used it for errands. The question was, how do I use my Monday night, my once a week, like night off? I myself get sucked into wanting to do my errands then, but it's not wise when I do that. And so usually, like I've gone to the library and read a book, like have some quiet time. Every once in a while, I'll shut myself up in our room, and that's where I have my sewing that I can do, and it's supposed to be like for me to have a hobby to do, and just alone time. And eventually, I've thought about like, oh, that'd be a great time to go and hang out with another mom. But right now, it's just like after the week, I'm like, I just need alone time, and I just have to like unplug from everything and just spend time with me. Or it's my time when I get to go shopping at Joann Fabric and look at what I want and not have a kid to have to drag along behind me, like so bored, and then I'm frustrated. So it's just my time to have fun, whatever I choose to do. Yeah.
Do you have a secret way to tell your kids when their hour of screen time is up? Because I totally lose track.
We, the question is, how do we tell our kids when their screen time is up? They earn their screen time with chores. I have a chore chart that they do, and they get about 2 minutes for every chore that they do. Like they take out one trash can, and they get 2 minutes for doing that. I want them to earn screen time because they get to watch it while I'm finishing up dinner, and so I want them to be able to have that time so I can have a little bit of time too. And so I set the timer, and I've actually just recently started on their chore chart where they write down how many minutes they earned. And then I have them also write down what time it says on the clock. And so they know, so that way I can help keep track of it, because if I'm not watching it, they end up doubling their screen time because I'm just not on top of it.
You just set the timer on the microwave, and then it beeps, like, oh, that's Hallie's time, she's done.
It's a lot nicer to let the timer beep at them than mom beep at them. We just use it with the older ones, so 4 and up right now. Toby, he doesn't have a lot of attention for screen time anyways, unless it's ABC Mouse. And so that's what he loves to do. But he's a little, I don't know, I don't think he would understand like the time anyways, so he just throws a tantrum when we take him home.
I don't know how much it goes. So.
So I'm like, I see this and I love it. I'm gonna do it now. I'm gonna do it now. So what is your like time frame of training, like chores aspects of it? Like yeah, we're gonna get this down in a day. Jojo is on your list. I would love for that to happen. So would you have like a time frame to say, hey, we should do like this amount of time?
Like how long does it take them to get a hang of how to do a chore?
Yeah.
It depends on what chore it is and how quickly they are getting it. How long did it take for them to learn how to do dishes after a meal?
We started with I think the very first chore we started with most of them is the matching game with the silverware out of the dishwasher. So we just take the tray out of the dishwasher, put it up, you let the kids stand on a chair or a stool, and you like match the forks with the fork in the drawer, you know, and like that was the matching game, and that was like fun. They liked doing it, and they would throw fits if they didn't get to do it.
For me, I just have to not like be around them when they're doing that because it takes way longer for them to put silverware away than it does mom to do it. So while they're doing that, I find another task that I can be busy with, but nearby so we can talk or whatever.
Unless you mentally know like the goal here is not to get the job done.
Well, yeah.
We go back and forth between.
You can mentally know that, but the actual process of it
I'm like,
coming out.
yeah, it's just whatever, you know. And it's like, no, there's stuff to do. Let's go.
Yeah. It's hard.
That's not a point of conflict ever.
So I know you work from home. Like, do you have like a separation time where like dad's working and like this separation of the family? My husband's gonna start working from home in a few months, and I'm really concerned about
Yeah.
what that's going to look like. Like that separation, like making them understand that this is dad's work time.
It's a hard
Good
transition.
question.
She's asking, what is it? Am I doing this for the video? Is that what
And
you're
for other
having?
people who can't.
Okay.
I can't really hear anything.
She's asking, what is it, like, is there a separated time for you working at home from like, this is when daddy works and he's unavailable to the family, and then this is when family time is, and how do you let the kids know what the difference is?
Well, when I first started working at home, we lived in a house that didn't have like office space for me to work in. So I ended up basically just working in our living room, which I was homeschooled my whole life growing up, and so I'm really good at just like I can block things out and not like Dana. It's not very good. I know, like a kid could be crying at my feet and I don't even notice because I'm just like tunnel vision, which
Drives me crazy.
yeah, and it's not good either. Like I should notice if my kid's crying right in front of me. So that was hard because the kids didn't know when daddy was working or when daddy was playing or is it accessible, is it not.
Because Tim would get distracted too, and like when he's supposed to be working, he'd turn around and just play with the kids. So that line was very.
I'm so cute. But now we moved into a space, a new house last August, that we intentionally looked for a house that would have somewhere I could shut the doors, there'd be a clear, visible sign. Not that it matters half the time, but like when the doors are closed, dad's working, even alone on a call, or he's doing something, whatever. If I have like one door open, it's like a, what is it, French doors or something? Like when one door is open, then that means dad's working, but you can come in and interrupt if you need to, or if both doors are open, it's supposed to mean dad's just like, come on in, it's fine. It doesn't usually work out that way, because if someone wants dad, they kind of come in anyway. But that's working better than it was at our old house where I was just living or I was working in there.
And for me, it was a hard transition when he came home because I was used to like, the house is my territory. Like, I'm the one that runs this, like, I have to say what happens there. And for him to come into that was very difficult. I think the first time he worked from home, it did not go well at all. I was not kind. And
That was breaking her rhythm. I
Yeah.
was throwing everything off.
like, because he would decide to take a break while I'm trying to do something with the kids, and he would come in and interrupt that, and that just for me did not sit well at all. And then he got a regular job again, and then worked from home again the second time, and that time around I was able to be a lot like, I've done this before, I know all the mistakes I've made, and we can do this better this time.
think it's just like, you know, for me, I get frustrated because they keep interrupting, but I have to remind myself, like, no, I'm doing this for my family. You know, so like the reason I work, so yes, it's fun, I enjoy it, but two, it's, you know, it's for them. So I have to just remind myself when that happens, like, you know what, like, Anna needs to go take a nap or something right now. I'm just gonna stop what I'm doing. Or like yesterday, I didn't start working until like 3:30 or 4 in the afternoon or something like that, because that's just what our family needed. So I try to make sure our family comes first, then music.
But also when that happens though, it's give and take, because if he's not starting his day until really late, he's also usually staying up really late, which means the two of us miss out on our time together.
Let us know in the comments below what you guys think about it. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts and questions and stuff, and maybe we'll take a few of your questions and turn them into like live streams we'll do coming up here in the channel, and maybe other topics. Maybe we'll sit down and talk through some of those things with you guys here coming up. So subscribe if you haven't already. Love to have you guys become a part of that. And if you are subscribed and a part of the awesome community we have around here, we're looking forward to getting to hang out with you guys more and talk more through some of this stuff about family. So subscribe, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.